Welcome to the latest episode in the podcast series from Castle, Embrace Your Otherness, a space where we have conversations around disability, around employment with people whose lives and work are directly impacted by that work. I would like to begin this morning by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which Castle operates services. We have the Wonnarua people, the Awabakal people, the Worimi people and the Darkinjung people, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. Today we're going to be talking about the value of employing people with disabilities, both for the individuals concerned themselves and for the organisations that are involved in those appointments. We're joined by Enzo Perillo, the CEO of Tyrex, and Troy Turner, the production manager from Tyrex. Tyrex Solutions is a local manufacturer of recycled rubber products, including wheelchair access ramps. They've also worked as employment partners with Castle since 2017, employing 5 participants in the last 12 months alone, including Troy, who's been promoted to IC. Alongside Enzo and Troy, we also have Castle Toronto's Mark Midson, employment account officer who placed and supported Troy in his role with Tyrex. Good morning to you all.
Morning.
Morning, Brad.
Troy, I want to start with your story. When we first met, I got to hear your story and it blew me away about the impact that Castle and Tyrex has had on your life. No better person to tell that story than you. Do you want to share with us what your journey's been?
Yeah, sure. So about 18 months ago, I was unemployed and happened to be in a meeting with my case officer at Castle at Toronto, and Mark happened to walk past and got to talking and said he might have a position for me as a factory hand at Tyrex. Basically at that stage I'd been unemployed for about 5 years due to back injuries from previous work and a few mental issues, and I was lucky enough that Tyrex gave me an opportunity through Castle to work there for a period of time as a factory hand. I was lucky enough that with my previous experience in construction that I was able to step up into different roles at Tyrex as a fab shop worker and doing designs of custom ramps.
Yep.
And then moved into the supervisor's role after about 8 months, and then from there I've stepped up into the production manager's role as well. So yeah, that's
a pretty dramatic transformation in 18 months.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So how does the Troy of today compare to the Troy of 18 months ago? Basically I was a shadow of myself back then. I've really been able to regain the confidence that I'd lost through my disability, and with Tyrex's help, they've helped me build myself back up to what I once was, and now I'm in a better place now than I ever was. So Enzo, Troy's talked about that from his perspective. As an employer, can you cast your mind back to 18 months ago when you first...
Well, in actual fact, I met Troy officially back in October. And when I first started speaking to him, I thought, this guy's got some real potential. You know, he's got some great skill sets here. You know, he's a good people person. He understands people. And I go by gut feeling. And I got real positive gut feeling about Troy. I thought, you know, this gentleman here could step up. And what he's done is exactly that. He's stepped up and he's got skills that I had no idea he had. And, you know, the ability to deal with people, which is not an easy thing to do. Managing people is probably the hardest thing to do out there. He does it quite effectively. You know, he's not aloof. He's down to earth. He can speak to people from all backgrounds. And he can understand that people have difficulties throughout life, whether that be mental issues, issues with children, having to spend time with children and so forth. So I'm a great believer in always treating people equally, treating them with respect. And if you give people the opportunity and you treat them with respect, you get that in kind. And they're the type of people we want on board. I understand everyone goes through a purple patch or a black space in their lifetime. We're here to give people opportunities, and if we can bring them up and make them better people through Tyrex, it's great for our organisation. But on top of that, it's great for them also because it drags them out of a hole.
What really strikes me and inspires me about this story is that you didn't know Troy existed, and he was sitting hidden away in a sense in those we talk about those unemployment figures, hidden in those unemployment figures, and we go, we're down to 3.9% unemployment. There's no workforce out there for us, and yet here was somebody sitting there with such immense talent and opportunity and contribution to make. How's that changed your thinking about the role of disability employment and targeting groups, not just people with disability, but a whole range of groups that might not be necessarily seen as an option for businesses?
I'm a great believer that you give people a go. Okay, if you give people a go and they do their best to step up to the mark, I'm there to support them. It's the people who don't want to make the effort that I won't waste my time with.
Yeah.
So if I give them a go and they step up and they take on that responsibility, I support them all the way. So getting back to your original question, obviously people coming through Castle are coming from they have some rubbish in their background. But at the end of the day, everyone's got potential. And, if they come to us and they show us that potential, we're there to support them all the way.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to that later when we talk about the fact that you now have 5 more people placed via Castle, and I'm sure others. But I want to ask you, Mark, this is your bread and butter. This is what you do every day. I'm going to ask you to go back 18 months ago and think about that chance meeting with Mark when you passed by, your relationship with Tyrex, and what brought those together for you. How did you bring all of that to pass? What we're seeing in front of us today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Brad. I guess one of the most important parts of what I consider my role to be with Castle is understanding our participants and then understanding what opportunities are actually out there for them. After meeting Troy, I could quite easily identify that with the right opportunity, Troy could now be back to where he is. The thing from there was identifying a place for that to actually happen. Fortunately, Castle had a relationship with Tyrex, and I personally had a relationship with the previous manager at Tyrex, as I'd worked with him in another life. He was once again a gentleman that was very open to opportunity. And opportunity, I think, has been mentioned by Enzo a couple of times, and for me it's the key word here. So it was that opportunity for me to approach Nigel at the time and say, look, I've got a guy here. Might take a little bit of time for him to sort of, hit the heights, but I know that if you give this gentleman an opportunity, he will pay you back 5-fold. And it was just a matter of having someone that was open to giving that opportunity. And now we can see the fruits of that in what Troy just described here. So, for me, it was the opportunity to sit back 18 months ago and to be honest, every single day that I turn up to work for Castle and to talk to people like Troy and just try and understand currently where they're at, what they're dealing with, but also not so much that, but what they can do and what they've got to give, and then finding the place for that to go forward. And for me, that was a key with Troy. I could see that there was barriers, but I could also see with Troy's background and what he was trying to do with his life that there was potential and opportunity. And they're the keys for me, is potential and opportunity. And with employers like Tyrex that are open-minded to that opportunity, it gives me, such a great scope to help our participants like Troy.
I think one of the great strengths of the disability employment service sector is that we've got the time to spend in the conversation with the individual and actually look and explore those strengths. It's not just a quick tick and flick across to that. I mean, Troy, you spent, 5 years unemployed. What was different about your experience with Castle when you came in terms of making that rapid transition then into a job?
Well, I think initially you've got to be ready for it, which if you're not ready for change in your life, you're not going to be able to do anything with any opportunity that someone gives you. The fact that Mark was able to support me and have my back when I was transitioning back into full-time work. I had someone that I could give a call to say, look, I can't make it today. I don't know what's going on, in my head, or just I'm struggling a bit, and just having these conversations with him and getting some understanding from him, and then support from Tyrex to allow me to have that slow transition into full-time. Those are the things that help me get back into work. But at the end of the day, you got to be ready for it. So, yeah.
I think that's the thing that people don't necessarily understand about the process, is that alongside our participants, support to guide them through both education and just mentoring and just, as you say, a phone that you can pick up and call and have a chat to somebody. Equally, on the employer side, there are supports there, because it's not an easy step for employers to take to rethink the way in which the employment relationship works. From your perspective, Enzo, was how much support did you get from Castle in that process as an organisation, as a business?
Look, Mark has been a great help. I can pick up the phone and speak to Mark anytime. So he knows what our business is about. He understands it. He knows the type of people we're going to fit in there. And it's been a great relationship. So from our point of view, Castle have done the right thing by us. Not every case is going to be a success, but it's all about numbers. And the more numbers we can put through, even if we get one success out of 5, to me that's a real advantage.
Yeah.
A real plus.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important point to make, that it's like any employment relationship. It's that mix between getting the right set of skills and the right match in terms of the organisation and its culture.
Yeah.
I want to talk about culture for a second, because I recall our recent conversation about a transformation that's occurred at Tyrex from a cultural perspective.
Yeah.
Would you like to just explore that a little bit further?
I'll start off, and I think probably Troy could take over a bit
Yeah.
there. Look, our culture's dramatically changed since we've been there, and it's really due to a brand new people coming into the organisation and people respecting each other. I mean, it's hard enough turning up to work, but let alone having to deal with bullying issues or, having sort of relationship issues with other people. Everyone gets on well. They all speak to each other. Everyone respects each other. And our culture is based on that. Culture to us is very important. And that's happened through finding the right people coming into the organisation. And that's where Mark comes in. Now, he knows the type of people who are going to fit into our organisation, into our culture. And also making sure that the culture's upheld. Anything that's out of line, we step on, and that's where Troy comes in.
Yeah, so I've got a different managing technique that I do. I manage people, basically. I'm not a manager that hides away in an office. I'm out on the floor, because, as I said, I started at the bottom. I've done every job in that shed. Just like I've done in previous roles with other companies, I've always started at the bottom, worked my way up. So you get a sense of, what every person in that shed at any level is needed and what they're requiring. So you also, we might have 17 people working there, and I know those 17 people, everyone's got a problem, everyone's got issues, but I know each and every one of them. And that is my managing style. So we're very supportive of everyone's issues and problems. They know that they can come and talk to someone, whether it be someone from Castle or myself, Enzo, the administration officer in the office. Everyone is open to everyone there. It's just a really great place to work. You talk to anyone there, and everyone's so happy to be there. They're happy to come to work in the morning.
I've had the privilege of being on your shop floor and witnessing that for myself. Yep. Witnessing the diversity of the group that's there. I mean, it's not a typical... No. You can't cast your eye around and make typical assumptions about the individuals there. They're all very unique. There's a kindness that seemed to run through the way in which people spoke to each other and regarded each other. But the fact that both Enzo and Troy, you could walk around that shop floor and people would talk to you and genuinely engage was also a remarkable thing to observe. Mark, you've placed additional people with Troy into Tyrex. Do you have an observation about culture and the change and the impact, I guess, that people with disability can bring to the culture of an organisation?
Yeah, for sure, Brad. Look, the big thing now is that with the culture that is at Tyrex, Enzo sort of hit the nail on the head, where I see some personal responsibility in making sure I foster that culture. And with our participants, it's a great conversation to sit down and have with them now about people that it might be a little bit uncertain about returning to the workforce. And myself being very confident in being able to express to them what a great culture there is there, that they will be understood and they will be accepted and they will be afforded opportunity. So that's a really great conversation for someone in my position at Castle to be able to have with our participants, that I can confidently convey that to them, knowing that they'll be looked after when they work there. And on the other front, also too, the ability for me to be to actually say to our participants about that culture and how they can conduct themselves to fit into it as well and add to it. So it's a great thing for me to be able to actually do by understanding the business of Tyrex and understanding that culture. It gives me a lot of confidence in my role at Castle to put that forward to our participants, to allay any possible fears or anxieties they have about getting into the workforce, but also too, it's great to give them a clear understanding of the expectations of what a great organisation like this does, and that when they show up, you know, this is kind of how we behave and this is what we do, and they will understand very quickly if they give, they will get at Tyrex, and for me that's a great thing to be able to do, and it just to be honest, it puts our participants at ease, even down to the fact that in 2 days from when we're doing this podcast, there's a young man that's going to do a trial shift with Troy, and you know, he's gone through a lot, like a lot of our clients do, and once I explained to him about Tyrex and actually took him for a look at the factory the other day, and he met some of the people, to be able to talk to him about that and for him to come and see the factory, just it's nearly like I could see a lot of his tension melt away, and you know, from when I got him in the car, when I picked him up from his house to taking him to the factory to dropping him off, it was a different young man that got out of the car, and his view on, you know, going and trying to get back into work and going to the factory was just, it was a complete turnaround from uncertainty to him texting me saying, when can I do the trial shift, and that's all because of you know, my understanding of this business and what these guys offer at Tyrex as far as opportunity and support.
Well, the other thing that struck me, and it seems somewhat ironic because there's 4 men sitting around having a yarn, but the diversity of the workforce from a gender perspective, from a cultural background perspective, from an age perspective.
Yep.
Was that a deliberate thing, Troy, that you're doing in terms of building that?
No, look, I mean, there was a time, you know, when I was a factory hand that I probably would never have had a female on the floor. It was just an old school culture in there. Well, that's completely changed now. Now my supervisor is female. She came in and showed that she had what it would take to become a supervisor. Now she runs the crew in my absence and is doing a fantastic job. Other than that, I've got another 2 female staff members out on the floor, doing work in dispatch, laying ramps with the guys, doing work up in the fab shop.
Look, I think inclusion and diversity is that one of those core elements of Castle's culture and one of the core things we aim to do. Yeah. And of course, we talk often about the role of inclusion for people with disability, but inclusion and diversity extends across a range of areas. And from a business perspective, Enzo, your observation of diversity and the value of that to the business, do you have any thoughts?
I think it equates to a success. You know, our businesses are our people. And if we've got good people, then our business is going to, you know, become profitable and a success in the future. You know, you talk about diversity. I mean, we've got ladies on the floor. We've also got people from, you know, different sexual persuasions, people with, you know, suffer from depression, people, you know, from all walks of life. You know, I think that is our success. We're bringing people in fresh, who don't have any baggage from previous work experiences, who need a hand, and they fit in perfectly into our work culture.
Yeah, no, it's a tremendous success story, and that's why I was so inspired by what I saw and by what you've achieved at Tyrex. And the other thing that wraps around that, of course, is you work in the circular economy, recycling old tyres, and you're producing products that help people with disability amongst other, and people who are ageing, and for access and inclusion projects. So it really is quite a nice, neat package for me, just seeing the success. But I'm particularly inspired, Troy, by your by your growth and your achievement there. I mean, what do you say to people that were in a situation like you were 18 months ago? What do you say to people who are contemplating? You talked earlier about being ready for this. Yep. Really interested in your thoughts.
I know it's easy to look back now and say that it was easy, but it wasn't. Those first steps are the hardest. But having, as I said, a support network through Castle, Tyrex, people you can talk to get that support to help you through those first steps. And before you know it, you'll be kicking goals. So just take those first steps, and they might be baby steps, but it doesn't take long until you're rerunning. So just go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, that person that's taken that first step and knocks on the door of Castle, and you greet them, what are the things that you say to those people in terms of encouraging them to take that next step?
Yeah, Brad, I think Troy hit it on the head then. It's difficult for everyone to actually make a change. You know, change is hard for all humans. So the biggest thing we do every day, and I see my colleagues do as well, is just to help try and foster that change and provide positive reinforcement with it. So to all our participants now, or to anyone out there that watches the podcast, you know, all I would say to you is give yourself an opportunity to come in and see us and be open to that change. We've got a great structure and support network. You know, we do things a bit differently to other DES providers, where we have the 3-tiered approach with case management and account officers and support. So we have a really good wraparound. All I can say to people is come in. It's hard to change and it's hard to trust, but if you do that, I can guarantee you that you know, in my time at Castle, every single person I see that puts on this shirt every day does everything they can to support you, and that's what we'll continue to do. And that was, to be honest, that's all I knew I needed to do for Troy. I knew Troy had what it took to, you know, to be here today and to be doing what he's doing in that factory, and I knew the greatest thing I could do for Troy was just to be there to support him when he started. And ironically, that's not even my core role in the business, but yeah, that's what I knew I needed to do. I knew I didn't need to be next to Troy helping him lay a ramp or, you know, showing him where the rubber was, but I knew I just needed to be there for him. So when he just needed someone to chat to, or needed some positive reinforcement, or needed someone to talk to the manager and say, hey, this guy just needs a day off just to refresh and come back again, that's what I knew I needed to do. So to anyone out there and to our participants, just give us an opportunity at Castle. I'm sure we'll put our best foot forward to you. Change is difficult, but I know we can help you get through that and take those baby steps towards running, as Troy talked about.
And Enzo, to employers that might happen to be listening to this episode, what would you say to them?
I would say to them, it's been a success for us. Give it a go. Just give things a go. Don't. If you want to continue achieving the same results, then continue doing what you're doing. But if you want to achieve other results that are going to be positive, you need to change, and you need to give things a go and step outside of your comfort zone and just give it a go.
Yeah, and therein lies the opportunity. The theme of this podcast series is Embrace Your Otherness. It's a tagline that we're using to talk about people embracing their otherness. One of the things I ask the guests on each episode is to share with us what embrace your otherness means to them as individuals. I'm going to ask you two to just think on that for a while. I'm going to throw to Mark. What does embrace your otherness mean to you?
Yeah, Brad. For me, embrace your otherness is a probably a personal sort of thought process as much as what it is a work process. So after many years in sales and management. I joined Castle based on the fact that I actually have 3 children and 2 of my boys actually have a disability. So embracing your otherness for me was about being involved in an industry like this where I could make a personal difference that I knew would make an impact on my home life as much as others. So I guess that kind of derived from me from a project that I run on the side, which I run a disability soccer club, as you know, for children. So we have 62 kids from 6 to 18 that I've done for 6 years now. My wife and I have done for 6 years. That kind of gave me the antagonist to understand that by embracing your otherness effectively and seeing all these kids and giving them the opportunity what it could do, that inspired me to want to work in an industry like this, because I know that it'll have an impact on my personal life as much as it gives me, a great feeling to go to work every day. When I come from a background that it was all, sales and numbers and, figures and cold-hearted, where, now, my heart's a lot warmer every day when I turn up to work, and that's, for me, what Embrace Your Otherness is. It's just that opportunity to give people a chance and to see the potential that's in people. And that all started from me with my little soccer project, and now that's opened my mind to be able to, sit down with Troy or whoever comes through our door and just, I guess, wash away what doesn't need to be there and just see what can be there. And that's what I enjoy the most about this job, and that's what I really believe Embracing Your Otherness is all about, is just giving people the chance and understanding and supporting.
It's a hard act to follow, but I'm going to ask you, Troy. Thanks, Mark.
I'm
That's great.
I'm normally not a hard act to follow, mate. Yeah.
Okay, so to me, it's more so along the lines of taking those opportunities that sit out in front of you. For me, it was an opportunity to be a factory hand to start with, but then it was something else, and it just kept on going, and it's taken me all the way to the top. And as I said, I feel better in myself now than I ever have in my whole life because of those little opportunities that I didn't let slip through my fingers. I just took them on a little bit at a time. It's also put me in a position where now I can help other people, and just by able to help these other people every day, I feel better about myself. So from going from 3 or 4 years ago when I didn't even want to get out of bed in the morning to being where I am now. I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get to work and sort things out and help people. It's fantastic. So just take the opportunities when they present themselves, and go out there and kick some goals. Yeah.
Brilliant. Wenzo, Embrace Your Otherness. What's that mean?
I've got a lot of thoughts running through my head, but I suppose a prime example would be, in the past we used to employ people at Tyrex who had industry experience, who had all that baggage, and those guys never worked for us. They were too difficult to manage. They didn't have they were reticent to change. They just wanted to do things exactly the same way. They were always miserable. They were always fighting amongst themselves. Our otherness is the new people we've brought into the place. People with like Troy, who have had issues in their life, and they've come in, they started afresh, they fit exactly into our culture. I don't feel like I need to do everything in the organisation. I can delegate things to Troy and other people there, and I have confidence that they can do it. I just got to mentor them but they take it with both hands, and they take it to. It just saves me so much time and grief.
Yeah. Everyone wants to do it. They want to do it.
Yeah.
They want to do those things.
Yeah.
So.
And an organisation, you can't. Yeah. One person can't do everything. If you really want to get ahead in an organisation, you need to diversify those responsibilities across the board and have confidence in those people being able to achieve it.
You know what? I don't think I'll ever tire of hearing Troy's story and the Tyrex story and the role that we've played at Castle in supporting that. It really is inspiring, and it really is a testament to the value of what disability employment services can add to a business and to individual participants. I'm really grateful that the three of you agreed to have this conversation. Mark, Troy, Enzo, thank you for spending time with us today, telling that story. And I hope people listening to this episode will feel similarly inspired to either as a participant take that step or as an employer take that step and reach out to Castle to see what we can do for them. So thanks so much for your time.
No worries.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brad.